The climb to the summit. Maya gazed at the snow-capped peaks that pierced the horizon beyond her village. Ever since she was a child, those mountains had whispered to her, their silent call echoing in her heart. She longed to stand atop one of those giants, to feel the world spread out beneath her feet. But in her small village nestled in the valley, dreams as vast as hers were often left unspoken. Mountaineering is not for you, her father would say gently. It's dangerous, and besides, who will help your mother with the chores? Her friends laughed when she mentioned it, thinking it a fanciful whim that would pass with time. But the more she tried to suppress it, the stronger the urge became. One day, while helping her mother carry firewood, Maya met Arun, an experienced climber who had recently moved to the village. Noticing her frequent glances toward the peaks, he asked, "Do you climb?" Startled, she replied, "No, but I've always wanted to." Arun smiled. The mountains have a way of calling to those who belong there. If you're willing to work hard, I can teach you. For weeks, Maya trained in secret. Early mornings were spent running through the forest trails. Afternoons, she practiced climbing on the rocky outcrops behind the village. Arun taught her about equipment, safety, and the respect one must have for the mountain. One evening, her mother found her poring over a well-worn map of the mountain ranges. "What is this, Maya?" she asked, concern etched on her face. Maya took a deep breath. "Mother, I want to climb. It's all I think about. I know you're worried, but I feel alive when I train. I can't ignore this any longer." Her mother's eyes softened. "I always knew you were meant for something extraordinary. If this is your dream, you have my blessing. Just promise me you'll be careful." With her family's support, Maya prepared for her first significant climb, Mount Vashti, a peak that was both challenging and revered. As the ascent approached, doubt began to creep in. The villagers, skeptical glances and whispered conversations weighed on her. "Who does she think she is?" they murmured. "She'll never make it." The night before the climb, she sat alone, staring at the mountain silhouetted against the starry sky. Arun joined her. "Nervous?" he asked. She nodded. "What if they're right? What if I fail?" He looked at her thoughtfully. "Failure isn't falling down, it's refusing to get back up. The mountain doesn't care about who you are or where you come from. It challenges everyone equally. The question is, will you rise to meet it?" At dawn, Maya began her ascent. The initial path was gentle, winding through lush forests and over babbling brooks. But soon, the terrain grew steeper, the air thinner. Each step demanded more effort than the last. As she climbed higher, snow began to appear beneath her boots, and the temperature dropped. Halfway up, she reached a sheer wall of ice. Looking up, the top seemed impossibly far. Her muscles ached, and her breath came in ragged gasps. For a moment, she considered turning back. One step at a time, she reminded herself. Drawing on every ounce of strength, she drove her axe into the ice and pulled herself upward. Time blurred as she settled into a rhythm: grip, step, breathe. As she neared the summit, a fierce wind picked up, whipping snow into a blinding whirl. She could barely see a few feet ahead. Panic surged within her, but she forced it down. "Focus," she thought. Remembering Aaron's training, she anchored herself and waited for the gusts to subside. Finally, the wind eased, and she saw it. A few meters ahead, the summit awaited. Summoning the last of her energy, she pushed forward until, at last, she stood atop Mount Vashti. The world stretched out in all directions, a breathtaking panorama of peaks and valleys bathed in golden sunlight. Tears filled her eyes as a profound sense of accomplishment washed over her. She had done it. All the doubts, the naysayers, the grueling training, they had led to this moment. As she stood there, a small bird landed nearby, chirping merrily before darting off into the open sky. Maya smiled. The mountain had tested her, challenged her, but it had also welcomed her. Descending was easier, her steps light with joy. When she returned to the village, a crowd awaited. News of her climb had spread. There were no more whispers or doubtful glances. Instead, faces showed awe, respect, even pride. A young girl stepped forward, eyes wide. "Maya, will you teach me to climb?" Maya knelt down, her heart swelling. "Of course," she said gently. "We can start tomorrow." From that day on, Maya wasn't just the girl with big dreams, she became a beacon of possibility. She founded a climbing school, encouraging others to pursue their passions, no matter the obstacles. The mountains no longer seemed like distant, unattainable giants but became a symbol of what could be achieved with determination and courage. Years later, as she guided a group of climbers up Mount Vashti, Maya often thought back to that first ascent. The journey had been arduous, but it taught her the most valuable lesson. The greatest summits are not just the ones we climb, but the fears and doubts we overcome within ourselves. The end. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.